So I have been waiting for Wuthering Waves for a long time. If you are like a day one Genshin player like me and you follow these games a lot, you've probably been waiting for it for a while too. My hype was way up there. I had watched all the videos of all the beta testings. I'd even saved some money up because I knew I was probably going to want to spend on this game. And, I've been playing it a lot. I am just about, I am Healing level 43 here. I've been playing quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. And like I said, I'm a day one Genshin player. I play a lot of gacha games and I have a lot of opinions on this game. So I just wanted to share kind of how I'm feeling so far about a bunch of different systems and talk about whether I think the game is going to last or not. Because that's the thing with these gacha games is they come out, they get a lot of hype at the beginning, all the new players come in, and then maybe after about a couple months it starts to fizzle out. And there's a lot of good games on the market right now and a couple good ones that are coming out soon, which is this game's going to have a lot of competition. So just wanted to talk a little bit about my feelings so far. First of all, the gameplay, of course, is absolutely ridiculous. It's so good compared to Genshin's. I love the break bars. I love all the bosses. I can't even count how many bosses there are. Maybe like 11 or 12, and they're all very unique. All very Souls-like, which, if you like that, you like it. If you don't, you don't. There's a lot of like delayed movements to where you really have to play a boss quite a few times to get the movements down. I especially I haven't done a whole lot of these, what are they called? The hologram fights so far. I've done monkey up to 5, and I really enjoy how as you keep going, they end up getting more abilities. It gets harder and harder, not only in just like the numbers, they don't just make him have more health, they're also giving him more abilities. I don't love, what is it, Tempest Mephis, I think it is, where instead of adding more abilities, they're adding he has like a clone that just does the same abilities as he does. 4 is really tough for me, which is kind of cringe because I have a pretty good account and I've seen people doing like 5 and 6, but to me I haven't enjoyed that. I hope that there isn't more like that where they just have a copy of themselves and you have to fight kind of 2 of them at the same time. I've heard that the monkey might have that, which I'm worried about. But besides that, I'm having a ton of fun with it. Yesterday, it's kind of been my goal to push the tower as far as I could in this first reset. I don't think like in Genshin you can see your highest that you've ever gone. I don't think that this lets you do that, but I can tell you that I ended up getting 19 stars. It's hard for me to really say right now whether the combat is really that good, and particularly like the end game combat, just because no one's really at end game yet. For me, when I was pushing the tower this last reset, it felt like I was really having to min-max and tune my characters right and get the right teams to even time some of the bosses. But I'm not sure how that'll feel once I'm fully maxed out. I'm not sure. I think the characters will probably go up to 90 once you get that and some better relics, and your weapons are up. You get your traces maxed or whatever they're called. What are they called? Just skills in this game. But once you get those up, it's hard to tell right now whether the combat is really as hard as we think it is. Either way though, that's obviously the best part of this game, right? All of the parries, all of the very complicated boss mechanics, and the intricate characters with their forte circuit gauges, and how those are so different. Although, I see a lot of people talking about how cool this bar is down here. Really though, if you think about most characters, it's you attack a bunch to build this bar, and then you heavy attack and it does some big thing. That's how 90% of the characters are. Encore is like that, Brina's like that. Sanwa is the one exception, I guess, and she's probably my favorite character because Sanwa is a little different. You can, spawn all these icicles with your ult, with the intro, with your skill, and then you kind of play this little rhythm game down here with your heavy attack. But in the end, you're still just building up a gauge and spending your heavy attack. I hope they get a little more creative with it. Another point that I've been thinking about with all of these characters is just how cool it is how pretty much all of them feel viable right now. Even the 4 stars, you see a lot of people using them. People are using Danjin, they're using Yuanwu. Maybe so much not Tauchi, but I have seen a couple builds out there for her of people doing like 120k damage with one hit with Tauchi. And I love that all of the characters are usable. With that being said, I'm not sure how long that'll last because, of course, these gacha games, they like to sell their characters, and how they do that sometimes is designing boss fights around certain characters that can do certain things. We've seen this a lot recently in Honkai with like Sam. That fight, it's like if you had Huoho and Luocha and you don't have any good shielders, good luck with that. Better start rolling. So of course this game is probably going to fall prey to that at some point, but I do love how right now it feels like you can use any character. Even, you know, Havoc MC is popping off, and I love that. So while we're taking a look at all my characters here, I guess this is a pretty good time to talk about how I got these characters and whether or not that feels like a good time in this game compared to Genshin and other gachas. And overall, I'm pretty happy with how it feels so far. So just to give you guys some perspective, I'll tell you my story about how much I've spent in this game so far. I know myself, and I know when a gacha comes out, I'm going to spend some money, especially if I'm enjoying it. I just know myself at this point. I've been playing gacha games for 8+ years, so I had saved about $300 to spend on this game on whatever I wanted. After 3 weeks, I've only spent about $250 of that $300, and I have every single 5-star character, all of the limited ones, I guess except for Ling Yang, but he's sitting on the table right here, and 20 pulls if I really want him. I've gotten all of the limited weapons and a standard weapon, all for $250. Now, I'm not saying that if you put $250 in, you're going to get all of the stuff that I have, because obviously I re-rolled for 2 days, and also just gotten pretty lucky and haven't met pity more than once or twice, I think. But still, even if you do spend $250, you know that you're going to get a guaranteed weapon of your choice. You know that you're pretty much guaranteed the 5-star limited character, and you know that you're going to get 3 at least of the 5-star characters from the standard banner that you want, because they just give them to you. I mean, the value of your dollar in this game so far is like way above what you would get with Genshin. I remember just fishing from the standard banner in Genshin for months afterwards because I still didn't have D-Luke until like 3 months after release. And yeah, that made me pull more. So I guess if you're looking at this objectively, they're probably going to make less money than Hoyo did in the first couple of months because they are so generous. But in the long term, I hope that this will retain players because they have more of a trust about their dollar and what they spend in the game. So continuing on the characters themselves, specifically, I guess like the character design and the story, you know, okay, I was about to shit on the character design in this game, and then Sanhua just pops up, and she is obviously the best design character in this game. I mean, look at her. I'm a little biased because I have a soft spot for the white-haired, like, ice characters. You know, Kyoko Kirigiri, Ayaka, countless white-haired ice girls have had my heart in the past. So Sanhua doesn't count. She is a cut above the rest. And, you know, the character designs are all growing on me. I didn't love them at first. I love some of the male designs. Still, Calcharo, Jiyan, they're badass, but they just don't quite have, like, the soul to them that Hoyo characters have, if you know what I mean. Maybe they just need to grow on me and I need to see more story with them. But I've been thinking a lot about a quote that I saw from Dawei before Genshin even came out, about how at Hoyo's design philosophy for their characters, they wanted to make like virtual idols to where people will, like, you know, love learning about the characters and have them like be a part of their life. Whether that's healthy or not, that's a different conversation. But within the otaku sphere, that is something that's really paramount if you want people to be spending money on your game. And I don't think they're quite there with the character lore and the character designs yet. Morteffi's really grown on me. I mean, all of them have grown on me, don't get me wrong, but they just don't quite have this soul of Genshin characters. You know, Yinlan's super hot. I mean, obviously she's like the hottest character in the game, but I just don't feel as connected to her as I do with someone like Ningguang or Keqing that I did in Genshin in the first couple of months. Like I said, maybe I just need to experience more story with them and grow closer to their personalities, but so far I really think they need to focus more on like the soul of the characters. So another thing that people are comparing a lot between this game and Genshin Impact is the open world. And if you look back, I think that was kind of the main selling point of Genshin when it first came out, was it was like a mobile game with this huge open world. And I think Wuthering Waves' main selling point is more its combat, but it still does have this huge open world. And I'll say it was a lot more than I was expecting. It doesn't feel quite as big as like all of Mondstadt did, and then most of Liyue. But this is a lot more than I expected. And contrary to what some people are saying, I do think it has a lot of good, varied environments. Like this spot over here with Inferno Rider feels very different from the big tree. And then the other big tree, which you transform from Mushroom. I really liked this quest. I thought it was pretty cool. I think it was like mushrooms, and it had this disease, and spoiler alert, I guess, you cure the tree of its disease and then it's all pretty now. I think that there's a lot of good varied environments in this map, and I was pretty impressed with it. Now me personally, I'm not an open world guy. Like, I'm older, I look pretty young, but I'm pretty old, and I don't have the time to be exploring these maps all the time, and that's one of the things that turned me off of Genshin. It's one of the reasons I don't play Genshin as much anymore, because I just don't want to be exploring the open world. I just want to get in there, build my characters, you know, fine-tune their builds, and then do the combat, which was just Spiral Abyss for Genshin. That's why I didn't really stick with it very much. And so for me, subjectively, I hope that they don't put quite as much of a focus on the open world in this game, because that is one of the things that's going to push me away from it. I know that I may be kind of the minority in that opinion though, so let me speak objectively. I think that this open world that they presented in the 1.0 patch is just as good as Genshin's, if not better, purely on the fact that it's so fun to traverse. Just wall running and the grapple hook and all of this. I always, like, if I see a place I want to go, I just go. I don't have a second thought about it. I don't say, oh, well, I'm probably not going to have enough stamina, so maybe I'll just mark that and come back later. I'm like, no, I'm gonna run up here and just grapple my way and get to the top however I can. It's so much more fun than Genshin's exploration was. And objectively, I think that the open world is just as good, if not better, than Genshin's was in 1.0. So last thing I want to touch on is kind of the daily routine and the level of content that the game has so far, because that is a big deal and also a big reason for whether gacha players will continue to play something or not. I don't think that the dailies take too long to just do, what is this, your adventure book, whatever. I'm just going to keep using Genshin terms forever. This doesn't take super long. The daily quest, you kill 4 enemies, pretty easy peasy. What I have to say about spending your stamina, or your wave plates, whatever it's called, there's a couple things that I think aren't quite so perfect so far. One of the major things that turned me personally off of Genshin is the need to run all of these really not fun things, such as tacit fields, such as like the domains in Genshin to get your level up materials and whatnot. You have to run the same thing like 6 times in a row just to get what you need. And that's not the gameplay that I want to be doing. That's the gameplay that I'm forced to do so that I can have fun in the gameplay that I want to play. And so that's why I play Blue Archive. That's why I play Nikkei. That's why I play Honkai, because I can kind of auto battle and do my dailies slowly, so that On the weekend, when I have more time to play, when I don't want to just play for 15 minutes, then I can do the hard stuff and play like the engaging gameplay. But for a lot of gacha players, I think they're like me in that they don't want to be going into these domains and like doing, killing 5 of the human enemies over and over. That's just not fun, and I really hope that they add like a sweep feature. I guess I didn't really talk about the ecosystem in depth either, so let me just touch on that. I love it. I mean, super cool. Going back to the open world thing, I think this is what encouraged me as someone who doesn't love the open world aspect to go out and explore more, just because I was relic farming. And while I was relic farming, I just so happened to complete a lot of the puzzles in the open world, and it felt really good. And I think this is such a cool system that they can keep building on. I've seen some, I won't talk about leaks, but I've seen some maybe rumblings about how new enemies will have the same sets, so it'll be even easier to get these base sets in the future in the 1.1 patch. I think that's so cool. I think it's a great way to do this relic system. Farming them felt not so good pre Union level 40, and if you're in that stage, I recommend just waiting, because after 40, I mean, it's so easy. As you saw my artifacts, it's ridiculous how early we've gotten such good artifacts. Like, I mean, some of them aren't amazing, but they're passable and they're pretty easy to get. Love the ecosystem. Final thoughts here. Do I think this game will last, and will I continue to keep playing it? So let me talk about objective things at first. So I think this game is doing a really good job of leaning into the difficult bosses and the really intricate combat, and I love that about it. That being said, I think that's a very niche audience within the gacha genre. I think they're trying to pull from too many different audiences. They have this big open world, so they want people who like that. They want these really hardcore sweaty players who want really tough combat. They just want normal gacha players who are more into like character collection and slowly developing their roster over many months. They're just trying to do too much right now. I think they're trying to be a jack of all trades, master of none, and they're gonna need to hone in on something. And I think that needs to be the combat. I think they really need to focus on that combat thing going forward to like further carve out this niche that they've made. Otherwise, they're just going to end up being a mediocre Genshin. I also think that they need to just, like I said, put more soul into some of these characters. Like, I see that they're looking for better story writers. I think that's going to make a huge difference, and just make us care more about these guys. Like, I was impressed with what they had compared to my expectations, but if they want long-term success, they're really gonna make they want us to love these characters. That's a big thing with these gacha games. Final thoughts of the final thoughts here. To sum everything up, what I think they need to do if Wuthering Waves wants continued success is to really focus on the combat and make that their main goal, is to make the combat as fun, fair, but also hard as possible. They also really need to focus in on the character designs. Hire some better writers, hire some better character designers, and, make the characters have some soul. Lastly, I think they need to have better features for mobile gamers. So the sweeping and just kind of condensing that daily grind so that people that play 5 gachas, or a lot of people in Asia who will only play the game like on their train ride home, so that they don't feel discluded and like they have to spend an hour a day on this game, because that is not what gacha players want to do. That's why we play these games, because we don't have 5 hours a day to spend grinding at MMO. We just want to do our stuff, get out, and feel like we made some progression. So yeah, that is my 2 cents on Wuthering Waves. Overall, as I said, I mean, I've been enjoying it. I've been playing it every day for the next 3 weeks. Will I play it past when Zenless Zone Zero comes out? We'll see. I mean, it's similar combat. I don't know if it'll scratch quite the same itch, just because, I mean, these bosses are tough and really fun, but it doesn't have that open world. And as I said, I don't want to go explore a new map every time a new patch comes out. And I think it'll be more friendly for like a gacha gamer like me. So will I play Wuthering Waves or Zenless Zone Zero in the long term? I'm not sure. Only time will tell. But either way, enjoyed my first month with the game, at least. Let me know your thoughts on whether you think this game's going to last, if you're still going to play. If Zenless Zone Zero is gonna pull you out of it as well, let me know. I'd like to hear it. Thanks for listening to my thoughts, and good luck out there in your Wuthering adventures. Peace.